Welcome back. This is Defender Chassis. My name's Scott. You're watching episode 8 of Have You Seen My Tools? This week's tool is a Pexto G52 Gap Shear. This is the second Stomp Shear that I've had, and it functions like all other Stomp Shears, except that it's got 3 features that are different from a lot of what's available. And that's really, those 3 features are the real reason why I upgraded to this shear. These shears aren't easy to find. You can buy them new. It's going to cost you almost $17,000 to pick one of these up. Probably over that by the time you pay for shipping. If you want a deal, you can find them used. They're not easy to find. In fact, I searched for over 2 years before I found one that was close enough and in good enough shape and complete enough to purchase. This was a result of an eBay search that I ran for over 2 years, and even then when I found it, I didn't find it under G52 or a gap shear. It was simply a search that included the word shear in the title and was within 100 miles of my shop. The pictures were terrible. I wasn't even sure that it was the shear that I was looking for when I saw the ad, but it was close enough that I found out who had it, and I gave them a call, and after a little bit of discussion, I got in the truck and ran over. It was in Fairmont, West Virginia, and ran over and took a look and bought it right there. I can't tell you how good of a deal I got on this because I bought it with some other equipment, and in fact, I bought this and an 8-foot Chicago dress and crump leaf brake for, it was less than $1,800 for the pair. A little history on Pexto. Pexto is actually shortened. It stands for Pexto and Wilcox. And the company dates back to 1797. And in 1950 they were combined with Roper Whitney, both being purchased by a company called Billings and Spencer. I've got a little more detail, but we're not going to go through it here. But I will include the little more history of the company in the video description. So if you're interested in that, you can take a look down there. Let's move on, and let me show you the 3 features that are the reason why this was the Stomp Shear that I felt I needed for my shop. The first feature that I want to show you that attracted me to this particular model of machine is the clamping mechanism. Now you can get this style of clamping mechanism on a lot of older shears, but almost all the new shears today have a spring-loaded clamp in the front that is actuated by the foot pedal. So what happens, and you may already well be aware, is that when you depress the pedal to make a shear, this clamp will come down, and then because it's spring-loaded, when it makes contact, it'll stop moving, and then the harder you push the pedal, the more spring force is applied to the sheet. Now what that meant on my old shear was that there was not enough force on the sheet to hold it to the table, and then as the cut progressed, it would actually draw the sheet into the blade. These machines, the way they work is you've got a lever that operates a cam that pulls the clamp down on top of the sheet. So you can apply as much force as you want independent of the shearing action. You know, now that clamp is held, or that sheet is held there, and if I need to walk over and get a pen or go look at some, drawing or something of that nature, that sheet's not moving. It's just a matter then of just making your cut. So this is in my mind, a superior design and much more user-friendly. Now the back gauge is built similar to almost all other shears that I've seen, and there's just these bars on the back in which the back gauge can slide back and forth on. But what makes this machine's back gauge different is that on the bottom of this bar there's a little rack gear, and it's tied to this handle. What you can do is you can get it close, and then if you want to fine-tune your position of your back gauge, you can just twist this handle and you can move it very, very, very small increments. And then of course it's got a knob to lock it in place so that it won't move from there. I like this style of back gauge adjustment better than what's available on the newer models available today. The last feature that I want to show you that makes this particular Stomp Shear better than most is that the frame of this machine has a gap in it, hence the name Gap Shear and where the G in the G52 comes from. So what you've got is a little over 18 inches, in which if you've got a sheet that's wider than 4 feet and you need to slit it, as long as you're slitting a piece 18 inches or less, you can cut it on this machine. Let me move the camera back and show you how this thing works. To slit this in half, you'll start the cut shy of this end, and then simply clamp the sheet. Now when you make the cut, you don't want to actually cut all the way through. You want to be very careful not to let that blade extend all the way down. So you just go ahead and start the cut and make it as close as you feel comfortable to the end. Right there is where I'm going to stop. And you can see, with it all slid down, what we've got now is we've made that cut as such, 2 different pieces. So what we need to do now is go ahead and finish the cut on the rest. So the piece we cut, we're going to let slip underneath of the outfeed table while we let the piece to the front go to the top. And we'll slide this over to where we can finish that cut. There's no reason to go past the end of that blade. And what we'll do, this outfeed table has an adjustable fence, and I've got this calibrated so that this front edge of this fence lines up in line with the front edge of the blade. So we line this cut piece up and clamp. Now I really should have taken this this gauge off of here, but it'll be all right for this narrow piece. But we've got this clamped down, and we should just be able to go ahead and go down and finish the cut. So right there you have it. 7 foot 3 inches, and it's just that easy. That's all for now. Don't forget, there'll be a slideshow at the end of the video with more detailed pictures. Hey, if you don't mind, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. If you got questions, put them in the comments. And I'll see you next week on episode 9 of Have You Seen My Tool? Thanks for watching.